we have a pilot process that works in order to separate phosphate from magnetite and from ilmenite and from the silicates, and that was able to produce, almost 90% recovery. Now it's a second stage as we advance towards our feasibility study. What this metallurgical sample will do is allow us to perfect that methodology.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by First Phosphate CEO John Pasalakwa. John, very good to speak with you. You've just collected a 5,000 kilogram bulk sample. What are the key outcomes you're aiming for from this next stage of metallurgical testing?
Yeah, so we've already done our pilot testing last year. So we have a pilot process that works in order to separate phosphate from magnetite and from ilmenite and from the silicates, and that was able to produce, almost 90% recovery. Now it's a second stage as we advance towards our feasibility study. What this metallurgical sample will do is allow us to perfect that methodology and to get down to what will be, our real live scale separation process. So it's a very important process for the feasibility study, and this metallurgical sample provides the material that's required to do those analyses. And also at the same time, we stripped out the rock, about a good, I don't know, 500 feet by 500 feet of rock have been stripped out, so you can see what the actual rock looks underneath. And then we know that rock carries through for about 2.5 kilometers by half a kilometer wide. So we get to see what that rock looks like in channel samples, and the geologists and the engineers get to look at that more carefully, the formation of the rock, to make sure that we're in line as we're doing our new basically commercial pilot plant scale tests.
John, how does this build on the successful 2023 pilot results?
Yeah, so basically it's the second step of that. The pilots, like I said, the pilot test results were successful. So now what we're doing is we're going really into the deep granularity of it, and getting to a commercial process that will basically be what will be running the concentrator once the mine will be in production.
The PEA highlights the northern and mountain zones as the focus for the first 10 years of production. What gives you confidence in those areas specifically?
Yeah, so the northern zone and the mountain zones have the highest concentration of phosphate. They're also sort of mountainous in the sense that they're exposed, so it's very easy, much easier to get to the phosphate, and so it'll be more economical, and it's always the best place to start operations, where you have the highest concentrations and the easiest access.
You've confirmed up to 45% apatite in surface stripping. How do these findings impact your overall resource confidence and long-term production strategy?
Yeah, so the apatite at its purest is actually would be a 42% P2O5. So the apatite content that we found in some of these gets pretty close to that, pretty close to 100% pure apatite, but that's only in certain veins. The deposit is across 2.5 kilometers and 500 meters wide, and we've only gone deep about 300 meters. We're completely open at depth, but that assures us that the deposit is there. So as we move into our detailed definition drilling, it'll just be to prove that out, to get it to go from inferred to indicated and to measured resource. So it's all about continuing to de-risk and continuing to define the resource, but what we know is very strong already.
So what should your investors be looking out for in the near term in terms of milestones?
Yeah, so right now in terms on the mining side, it's really advancing towards that feasibility study, completing our definition drilling, really establishing the resource. The bankable offtakes on the property are already in place. The logistics are in place. The PA has done a good job. We don't need to build any new infrastructure. So it's just defining all of those terms and proving out that we have really a world-class asset here. We got an NPV of $2.1 billion Canadian, an IRR of 37%, and we have a stock that trades at less than 2% of that NPV value. So it's really about proving out the reality and I guess the basis for all of those assumptions in the PEA. That's really the next step here, just continuing to define and to prove out that we've got something exceptional and world class here.
John, you had a site visit at Bégin-Lemarche recently, the Belgian ambassador attending. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so after we did the channel sampling and the stripping, the rock was exposed in that one area, so it's a good area to be able to bring out people to visit. And if you have a look at our website and our last press release, we have a link to that site visit. It's about a 2 to 3 minute video. I suggest that everybody take a look at it. So we had some important dignitaries come out. We had the ambassador of Belgium, where obviously there's an interest between Belgium and Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney was just over in Belgium discussing some of the possibilities for work together on critical minerals between Canada and Belgium. And the Belgium ambassador was quite interested in our project. Obviously, we have a very large agreement in place with Prayon, which is the world's largest producer of purified phosphoric acid, which is also a Belgian company. So all of that stems from those discussions and from our partnership in Belgium.
John, I hope you'll continue to keep us posted on progress at the project. Thank you very much for the update today.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
John Passalacqua, CEO of First Phosphate.